Tonight, your taxes. A sweeping overhaul passes Congress, and President Trump takes a victory lap.
It's always a lot of fun when you win. Ultimately, what does it mean? It means jobs, 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 jobs.
Tonight, how it affects you, your family, and the impact on everything from home ownership to health care. A holiday tragedy. We now know 8 Americans are among the dozen killed, 3 of them from one family, in a tour bus crash in Mexico. The driver now facing charges. A funeral firestorm at the Vatican. The cardinal at the center of the Boston sex abuse scandal will be laid to rest with the Pope participating. Victims' families outraged. A shocking scene caught on camera.
Whoa, 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 whoa!
A police officer dragged by a car hanging on for his life, the driver refusing to stop. And buyer beware, a surge in porch pirates stealing Christmas gifts right from your front door. How you can fight back.
This is NBC Nightly News with Lester Holt.
Good evening and welcome to our viewers in the West. President Trump is savoring his first big legislative win tonight. Hours after Congress and a party line vote passed the massive tax overhaul bill, a practically giddy president took a victory lap at the White House, a backslapping celebration with Republican lawmakers. Passing the sweeping tax cuts is a critical win for the president and his party as they approach next year's midterm elections. Their hope now that the large number of Americans unhappy with the bill will learn to love it. Our chief White House correspondent, Hallie Jackson, starts our coverage. Hallie, good evening.
Lester, good evening. It certainly feels like a holiday celebration here at the White House, with Republicans betting there will be no political hangover, that this tax plan will end up winning over more Americans. Surrounded by his party, it felt like one for the president, triumphant tonight.
It's always a lot of fun when you win.
Just in time for Christmas, he's getting a political gift, ready to sign into law the biggest tax overhaul in decades.
Ultimately, what does it mean? It means jobs, 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 jobs.
For him, it's a promise made, promise kept.
We're going to have the biggest tax cut since Ronald Reagan.
For Republicans, it's proof they can govern, though the House had to vote again today after an embarrassing hiccup Tuesday. Just hours after that final gavel, lawmakers praising the president as much as the bill itself.
You're one heck of a leader.
Exquisite presidential leadership.
Thank you, Mr. President, for all you're doing.
With its tax plan, the GOP's making a risky bet that benefits to businesses will trickle down to everyone else. Today, pointing to AT&T, which happens to be battling with the president's Justice Department over a major merger. The company is now linking the new corporate cuts to $1,000 employee bonuses and $1 billion U.S. investment.
And that's because of what we did, so that's pretty good.
NBC's parent company, Comcast, is also choosing to offer $1,000 bonuses to many employees, but the tax plan does not force any company to do anything similar. And while most Americans will see a tax break, the bill boosts businesses and the wealthy more. That's partly why not a single Democrat backed it.
Officially cements the Republican Party as the party of the wealthy and the party of big corporations.
Right now, the plan's not popular with many Americans. The White House thinks it will be.
They'll become more excited when they begin to see the benefits in their paycheck.
Christmas cuts not felt until the new year. Hallie Jackson, NBC News, the White House.
Delivering a truly amazing...
I'm Peter Alexander. President Trump's been promising it for months.
We want to give you, the American people, a giant tax cut for Christmas.
So what are you getting? Lower taxes for 8 in 10 Americans, including most middle and working class families.
As someone who's self-employed, this is some much needed tax relief for a small business.
The individual tax cuts expire after 8 years, but the corporate tax cut from 35 to 21% is permanent. On health care, the individual mandates erased entirely in 2019. Without the mandate, 13 million more Americans will be uninsured in 10 years, according to congressional analysts. Ian Dixon, whose family's insured through the Obamacare exchange, fears his premiums will skyrocket.
My costs are going to more than double what they were last year.
For all its advertised benefits, doubling the standard deduction and increasing the child tax credit to $2,000, unwrapping the bill may also bring surprises. The mortgage interest deduction for new home loans will be capped at $750,000. If you're already a homeowner, you can still deduct all of the interest. Also new, the bill limits state and local tax deductions to $10,000, hitting taxpayers in high tax states like California, New Jersey, and New York. In Chicago, some are rushing to prepay next year's taxes. And about that promise, the tax code will be so simple you'll be able to file on a form like a postcard.
I didn't know I was going to be given a form.
Many experts say that's unlikely for this 500-page tax cut bill.
The president's repeatedly branded this bill a middle-class miracle, but independent analysts say in 10 years, more than 80% of the benefits will go to the top 1%. The White House says Americans will begin seeing more money in their paychecks in February. Lester?
Peter Alexander at the White House tonight. Thank you. And the tax overhaul may be done, but Congress's end of the year to-do list includes some pretty urgent matters like resolving funding for a major children's health insurance program and preventing a government shutdown. Money runs out on Friday. So as NBC's Casey Hunt reports, there's no time to waste.
It's beautiful. With the holidays fast approaching, the Reynolds family is waiting for Congress, not Santa.
Limbo is exactly where we're at.
5 of their 10 children rely on the Children's Health Insurance Program to cover over $100,000 in health care costs each year.
For us, CHIP isn't, if little Sally happens to break her arm or, get sick, and it's nice to have coverage for little accidents. For us, it's to keep them alive.
9 million children are covered by the program, which helps kids who don't qualify for Medicaid but can't afford private insurance. Funding expired at the end of September, and Congress hasn't passed a fix. Across the country, families have already been warned they could lose coverage, and Congress is still arguing over a permanent solution. They're also arguing about the future of more than 700,000 undocumented immigrants brought to the U.S. as children.
These kids have given their addresses to the government. They know where they are, and they can be easily found. And they worry that they'll be separated from their families.
The end-of-year to-do list also includes billions in funding for disaster relief, reauthorizing the surveillance law that lets the government wiretap foreigners without a warrant, and keeping the government open because funding runs out at midnight on Friday.
And tonight, Republicans still aren't sure what they're going to do about keeping the government open, making it much more likely that they're going to punt on the hard questions like children's health insurance and Dreamers until after the holidays. Lester?
Casey Hunt at the Capitol tonight. Thank you. Now to those new developments in that tour bus tragedy in Mexico we first told you about here last night. A dozen people were killed, and we now know 8 of the dead are Americans, and 3 of them are from one family. The bus driver is now facing charges. NBC's Ron Mott has our report.
It was a holiday cruise that ended tragically for the Behar family of Virginia. Mom Anna and 11-year-old son Daniel killed in a bus crash in Mexico. 78-year-old grandmother Fania Seamus also lost. Father Moises and 15-year-old Davy injured and hospitalized. In all, 8 Americans are among the dozen who died. Another 18 hurt when a bus taking tourists to visit Mayan ruins overturned, leaving some victims lying on the road. Today, Mexican officials began processing vehicular manslaughter charges against the bus driver, who also was injured and detained by authorities. A state prosecutor said preliminary findings indicate excessive speed and the driver's negligence caused the crash.
And my heart just goes out to all these people that, they lost loved ones, and I could have been on that bus.
The bus was part of a fleet transporting visitors from 2 Florida-based cruise ships. According to witnesses, this crash happened on a clear day on a narrow 2-lane road with no shoulder or guardrail. Cruise passengers often take excursions like this one, booked through the cruise ship company, but usually run by independent contractors. Tonight, no new comment from the bus company, Costa Maya Mahawal, about the driver or the reported cause. Their representatives, along with Royal Caribbean, say they are doing all they can to help their guests. Ron Mott, NBC News.
There are new details in that other deadly crash we've been reporting on, the Amtrak train that derailed in Washington state. NTSB investigators have revealed a conductor was in the cab with the train's engineer and say the brakes were eventually engaged automatically, but not by the engineer. Crews were finally able to move the 270,000-pound locomotive off the highway there, but it's so large it became stuck at times as they tried to transport it. One of the most controversial figures in the Catholic Church has died. Cardinal Bernard Law, the former Boston Archbishop who resigned in disgrace over the sex abuse scandal that rocked the church, passed away in Rome at 86. Now, the Vatican's plans for his funeral are sparking outrage. NBC's Ann Thompson explains.
In death, as in life, Cardinal Bernard Law challenging the Catholic tenet of forgiveness.
I hope the gates of hell are opened wide to welcome him.
Little mercy today for the man who's seen as the face of the clergy sex abuse scandal in the U.S., dramatized in the movie Spotlight.
I think you'll find that Boston's still a small town, too.
Victims in Boston furious that Law will be given a funeral tomorrow at St. Peter's Basilica in Rome, with a blessing by Pope Francis.
The Pope is honoring him and saying it's okay to abuse children.
I would prefer to see him tied to a cross and burned instead.
During his 18 years as Archbishop, Law knowingly moved abusive priests from parish to parish without warning, giving them the opportunity to abuse again.
To all those who have suffered from my shortcomings and from my mistakes, I once again apologize.
Tonight, Father Jim Martin of the Jesuit-run American Media says the world will be watching the Pope's actions.
I think they're trying to do the standard procedure, for cardinal Law, and in other ways send signals that he's not as respected as other cardinals.
Such as the Pope's unusually short two-sentence statement about Law's death. A man with a legacy of wounds that have yet to heal. Ann Thompson, NBC News, New York.
A police officer literally hanging on for dear life as a driver hit the gas, refusing to stop, the officer clinging to the car. Here's NBC's Steve Patterson.
20 seconds of high-speed terror began in a flash. Florida officer John Cusack, responding to a call for a drug overdose, approaches a man and a woman sitting in a parked car.
You got ID?
Then,
whoa, 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 whoa!
Body cam video captures Cusack clinging to the driver's side door, holding on for his life. The suspect stepping on it, accelerating up to 60 miles an hour. After a half mile, Cusack lets go. A security camera captures the officer tumbling across a busy road.
He suffered significant road rash and injuries.
But the driver, suspect Thomas Cabrera, wasn't stopping. He led police on a chase at speeds reaching 100 miles an hour. With guns drawn, he's finally captured. Today, Cabrera was charged with attempted murder. Police say he confessed to the whole thing, including being high on heroin.
Officer Cusack is a hero. He tried to save someone's life, and in the process, he almost lost his own.
This afternoon, a battered Cusack walked out of the hospital, smiling to a cheering crowd.
Thank you very much for all the prayers.
A harrowing half mile for one of Florida's finest that could have ended much worse. Steve Patterson, NBC News.
Still ahead here tonight, stopping porch pirates, how police are catching these package thieves this holiday season, and the steps you can take to protect your presence. Also, new troubles for Chipotle. Investigators looking into another possible outbreak of illness. We'll tell you more in a moment. We're back now with a consumer alert. In the final stretch of the holiday shopping season, with the boom in online shopping, more packages are being delivered to your door, and more people are falling prey to thieves. They're calling them porch pirates. They've hit nearly 1 in 5 homeowners. And NBC's Jolene Kent has the video of the thieves in action and some advice on how you can protect your packages.
Across the country, more and more porch pirates are striking when they think nobody's watching. 2 young women driving a golf cart to pilfer packages in a Florida subdivision. In Atlanta, David Altman got lucky. He caught the suspect on camera.
At first, I really couldn't believe it. I told my girlfriend, I was like, come look at this. I think he just put my package down his pants.
According to the neighborhood social network Nextdoor, package theft complaints are up 500% this year. The median price of a stolen package, $250. Now, law enforcement is cracking down. Boston authorities recovering dozens of stolen Amazon packages this week. And one Ohio prosecutor posting on Facebook that it's placed bait packages throughout the city with a GPS inside, warning if you steal, you will be arrested.
The theft happened right here.
Right behind us.
In Burbank, California, police arrested a porch pirate just last week.
It is a growing problem, and we need to devote resources to this problem and hopefully see a decline in package thefts.
To protect your deliveries, consumer experts recommend reroute the package to a secure location, like a grocery store, neighbor, or your office. Use smart gadgets like a doorbell with a built-in surveillance camera. Require a signature if it's a valuable item, or pick up the package yourself from the delivery service's local office.
It makes me mad every time I watch it.
A warning to prevent this from becoming the season of giving and taking. Jolene Kent, NBC News, Burbank.
Still to come tonight, hoping to retire early? A big reason you may want to think twice, and it's not about money. Tonight, health officials in Los Angeles are investigating after several Chipotle employees reported being sick with nausea, vomiting, and diarrhea, prompting concerns about another possible incident of foodborne illness. Several customers also anonymously complained online about getting sick after eating at the restaurant on West Pico Boulevard, though none reported to the health department. The company says it is cooperating with officials and notes the CDC reports widespread flu currently in California. And Apple today confirmed something customers have long suspected. Your iPhone really does get slower with age, but the company claims it's not about getting you to buy a new phone. Instead, Apple says it's because older batteries can't provide as much power. So Apple uses a feature that appears to lower processor speed and keep older phones from suddenly shutting off. If you dream of retiring early, there may be good reason to stick it out until you're 65. A new study from Cornell found a correlation between retiring earlier and dying younger. The link is especially dangerous for men who have a 20% higher mortality rate if they start claiming Social Security at 62, according to the study. When we come back, the concert, guaranteed to be like nothing you've ever heard before. Inspiring America is next. Finally, tonight, a whole orchestra filled with trashed trumpets, smashed saxophones, and damaged drums. So why would hundreds of talented musicians choose to play on broken instruments? NBC's Kristen Dahlgren has the answer. That's Inspiring America.
It might sound like a violin bound for the trash heap.
No bridge and a missing E string.
To Evelyn Matika, it's the sound of the future.
I can't service them all.
Philadelphia schools had no money to repair rundown instruments.
I walked into a closed school that was full of broken pianos. And I thought, wow, is this the tip of an iceberg?
Temple University's Rob Blackson found 1,500 abandoned instruments and decided to save them, getting world-renowned composer David Lang to write a sort of misfit melody.
I just said, yes, I know exactly what to do with these instruments.
Strangled trombone.
Many can't be played in the traditional way. So musicians from the schools and Philly Orchestra are improvising for a full-scale, full-house symphony. People adopted the instruments online, and all proceeds go to restoration, returning them to students who otherwise wouldn't be able to make music.
Musical instruments in the schools changed my life, and these 1,500 instruments are capable of changing the lives of students in this school system right now.
Forgotten instruments, inspiring the future. You can't help but like the sound of that. Kristen Dahlgren, NBC News, Philadelphia.
And on that note, that's Nightly News for this Wednesday night. I'm Lester Holt. For all of us at NBC News, thank you for watching and good night.